Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Saul Lopez and I am a freelance videographer and photographer based here in Los Angeles, California. The majority of my work is in the fashion, music, and sports industry. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my 3 favorite Sony lenses that I bring on every shoot. Roll the intro. Before we get into today's video, I did want to announce that Her's music video for the song I Can't Breathe, the same one that I was a drone operator for, the same one that we won the VMA for, actually just got nominated for an MTV European Music Award, which is crazy. It is also the Video for Good category. It is a fan vote as well. I think voting is open through the end of October and the winner is announced on November 8th. So if you are seeing this, it would really mean a lot if you took 5 seconds of your life to vote. I'll leave the link in the description below. I really appreciate it. And again, that is the Video for Good category for the song I Can't Breathe by Her. All right, let's get into this video. The first lens that I always bring with me is the trusty Sony 16-35 f2.8. I love this lens because of how wide you can shoot. So this is a really great lens that I use to film establishing shots. As I mentioned, establishing shots are extremely important for every video just because it helps set the scene. It helps show people, you know, where you are, and it really immerses them into that world. The good thing about being able to shoot at 16 millimeters is that you really get to shoot as wide as possible, and it allows you to really capture the whole scene. There are a couple downsides with shooting at 16. You obviously get some warping on the edges, so it doesn't seem as natural necessarily. But if you're shooting for Instagram, you can always crop that in and it really doesn't show up that much. So 16-35 lenses are amazing. They are probably also your favorite vlogger's favorite lens because it lets them shoot extremely wide, especially when they're close up to the camera and it looks like this. So as you see, you can obviously see a lot more of my space. I think you can probably see my entire wingspan if I'm not mistaken. I'm 6'2", so this is probably about 6 feet 2 inches as well. But yeah, so I think it's a great lens for this purpose. If you're vlogging and you're really close to the camera like this, you can still see a good amount of the sides. You can also see my face. So yeah, I think this is a really great lens if you're looking to vlog. If you are an event videographer such as myself, before COVID obviously, I always bring this lens because, as I mentioned, I like to throw this setup on a gimbal on my DJI Ronin S, and I like to shoot the establishing shots of the location that we're at, whether that's a music venue, a sporting gym, whatever that is. It's a really versatile lens for those really wide and epic shots. It does run a little expensive. I do believe this one is around $2,000. So it's not necessarily your entry-level lens. Obviously, if you're a little bit more into the game or you maybe do this professionally, I'd highly recommend this lens. But if you're just starting out, you can probably find other cheaper alternatives to this one. But love this lens. It pairs really great with my Sony a7R Mark III, and it really gets the wide look that I'm looking for when I'm doing establishing shots. Moving on to our second lens is actually the Sony 24-70 f2.8. And if you're familiar with cameras, you'll obviously notice that this lens right here is not the Sony 24-70. This is actually the Canon 24-70 2.8. I originally started on Canon cameras way back in 2016 when I bought my first camera. I started shooting on Canon, but as I started getting more into event videography, Canons just weren't really cutting it in low light, which there tends to be a lot of in a lot of these events, which is why I ultimately switched to the Sony line of cameras. So yeah, I'm actually using the 24-70 to film this part right now, so it's on the camera. But yeah, this is the equivalent of that. So the 24-70 is probably my favorite lens out of the 3 lenses that I'm showing you. It is a very versatile range because at 24 millimeters, you can still get a pretty wide image, and at 70, you can get pretty close up for portraits. I love this. I shoot almost all of my street style photography during Fashion Week on this lens, the 24-70, just because it's a very run and gun setup. You don't always have time to set up or account for the best lighting. So if you want to shoot a quick portrait, it's a really great lens for that. It's also really easy to throw on a gimbal, and if you don't have the 16-35, you can also get establishing shots with this. In a video that I did earlier on my channel, I was showing the concert that I shot of Coda the Friend. I shot that entire concert on this lens alone. I threw that on the gimbal to get my establishing shots. I was also able to get on the stage and shoot him at 70 millimeters to get a nice close-up look. So that's why I like it. It's very dynamic. You can be pretty close up, pretty far away. And yeah, if there's only one lens that you can get out of these three lenses, I highly recommend the Sony 24-70 f2.8 G Master. This lens was really expensive. It is my pride and joy. I think it was $2,500 when I bought it at the time, but you will not regret it. It's a really amazing piece of glass. And yeah, if you're trying to shoot vlogs, this could be a really expensive setup for your vlogs, but it's a great lens that can do wonders for your videos. I also did want to mention that the Sony 24-70 is actually the lens that I use to film my behind the lens interviews. So if you've seen some of those videos on my channel, whenever I'm interviewing someone, that main angle, the wide angle that I put on a tripod to get myself and whoever my guest is, it's actually filmed on this lens. So it's also really good for interviews, and just again, super versatile. You can use it in any scenario. Highly recommend it. And no, I'm not getting paid by Sony to say this. I hope so one day. Sony, please sponsor me. But yeah, free advertising, I guess. But yeah, 24-70. Moving on to the third and final lens is this behemoth of a lens. It's actually pretty heavy, so it makes my camera bag extremely heavy when I have all three of these lenses and a camera in there. But this is the Sony 70-200 f2.8. You might have seen this if you're in LA or in a major city, and if you've ever seen a paparazzi hiding in the bushes, they're probably shooting on this lens just because it allows you to photograph or video someone from literally the other side of the street, or if you're hiding in a bush or whatever it is. I am not a paparazzi, so I don't use it for that purpose. However, this is an amazing lens if you're ever shooting a concert, if you're in the photo pit and you're obviously not on stage at a big music festival. They might not let you on stage, obviously, so this is a really great lens to shoot from the pit because it allows you to really get tied in with the artist's face. So if you're trying to shoot a portrait of just their facial expressions, this is the lens for you to go to. If you're doing weddings, this could also be a really great lens because especially during the ceremony, you're probably not right in the groom and bride's face just because you don't want to take attention to that. So if you're all the way in the back, this allows you to zoom in really tight at 200 millimeters. At 70 millimeters, it's still really great for photos, and it can give you a really wide aspect as well, depending on the type of event that you're shooting. I don't recommend this if you're just starting out or if you don't do a lot of events. It is great for portrait photography, so if you are a portrait photographer, I highly invest it. But for videos, I mainly use this for events, like I mentioned, when I know that I'm not going to be able to get close to whoever I am videoing. So a lot of music performances. I also use this almost exclusively at all the basketball games that I shoot. So this past year, I started shooting more basketball games, and the court is obviously very long. You aren't always in the best position to get close up if you're shooting on a 24-70, definitely not on the 16-35. So in order to get a better shot of the action for basketball games, I definitely always shoot on the 70-200 because I can get players' facial expressions. I can get a lot of detail of like the players dribbling the basketball. But at 70 millimeters, since the court is so big, it still allows me to get a wide perspective of everything that's going on in the action. If you are looking to buy the 70-200, I recommend it to be the last thing that you purchase if you're looking to buy either of these two lenses. This one will set you back $2,400, which is the same as the Sony 24-70 f2.8 G Master that I have on my camera right now. However, it's not as versatile as the 24-70, which is why I probably recommend you to shoot this last. Unless you do a lot of events, then by all means, go for it. But yeah, in this example, you'll see I actually shot a music festival in Saudi Arabia. In this clip, you'll see that I was shooting J Balvin during his set, and I actually shot his entire set exclusively on the 70-200. So these videos that you're seeing right here were shot on this lens right here, as well as some of the photos that I'm sharing. I was not able to get really close to the stage or on stage because it was massive, and there was a lot of media there, so I wasn't anyone special to be on stage with him. So I was in the photo pit, but I was able to move around the photo pit, move back into the crowd, into the audience, and get different perspectives just by using this 70-200. In this scenario, the 24-70 and the 16-35 definitely weren't in my favor just because of how big and how far away I was from the artist. So I would have been lost without this lens right here. So again, this is the type of situation that you would want to use that in, just in case you were looking to upgrade to the 70-200. All right, so these are the lenses that I use as a professional event videographer and photographer. Again, this is probably not your entry-level setup, and if you can afford this as an entry-level, by all means, go for it. But if you're looking to buy these three lenses, again, the Sony 24-70 f2.8, which is on my camera right now, will set you back around $2,500. The 16-35 will set you back around $2,000, and then the 70-200 will set you back another $2,400 or so. So with these three lenses, you're probably looking at around $7,000, and then depending on whatever Sony camera body you have, it's probably around a $10,000 setup here that I shoot with, that I shoot all my events with, and it just has proven to yield me the best results currently up to where I'm at in my career. But you know, we'll see where that goes. But I'm definitely in love with the Sony line. The low light is amazing, and it really provides with a great dynamic range of focal lengths. With all that in mind, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you got some information that can help you make an informed decision as to what is best for your needs currently. Please don't try to buy all these and max out your credit card, because that would probably be really irresponsible. But nonetheless, great set of products that we have here. Thank you again for watching. Hope you learned something, and I hope you stay safe out there. I'll see you next week.
I might just hit it through. That's on my element. I like dark skins, love a melanin, pushing in the tongue when I'm stepping in.